We are so very, very honored to be joined by Adrienne Maree Brown, who I introduced earlier as the writer in residence at the Emergent Strategy Ideation Institute, and who is the author of Emergent Strategies, which is a work that really informed our work and our beginnings as an anti-racism and social justice organization. She is the author of Grievers, the first novella in a trilogy of the Black Dawn imprint. She holding change, the way of emergent strategy, facilitation, mediation. Also, We Will Not Cancel Us, which is a great book that I am reading. And Other Dreams of Transformative Justice, Pleasure Activism, which you must read. The Politics of Feeling Good, The Politics of Feeling Good, and Emergent Strategies, Shaping Change, Changing Worlds, and the co-editor of Octavia's Brood, Science Fiction from the Social Justice Movement and How to Get Stupid White Men Out of Office. She is the co-host of the How to Survive the End of the World, Octavia's Parables, and the Emergent Strategy podcast. Adrienne is rooted in Detroit. We're so happy to have you here. Thank you for being here.
So good to be here with you.
Yeah. Adrienne will be joined in conversation by CFA leaders Charles Toombs, who is our president and a faculty member in the Africana Studies Department at San Diego State, by Margarita Berta Avila, who is our vice president North, and bilingual and multicultural educator at Sac State. Sharon Lulise is joining us also. She is the Associate Vice President, Council for Racial and Social Justice South, and she is a sociology faculty member at CSU San Marcos. Nicola Walters, who chairs our membership and organizing work, is from the Department of Politics at Humboldt State. And then, of course, we have Molly Talcott, who is the representation chair, and she teaches in sociology at Cal State LA. Welcome, y'all. Yeah. In the background, we have Talitha Maitland, who is a librarian at Cal State San Marcos, giving us a helping hand, and Chris Cox, who is sociology faculty at San Jose State. So I appreciate all of you for being here. So let's jump in, and I'm going to just say to you, forgive me if my eyeballs seem to be looking up or something. I'm screen tasking.
I love it.
So
I'm like, yes.
Yeah,
Look up.
I'm screen tasking in the digital. So let's just get right in here, y'all. So, I remember someone said, oh, you've got to read this book, Emergent Strategies. And let's be clear that someone who first introduced me to that book, I believe it was Jen Egan, who is our former CFA president, and said, this is a guidepost for us. This is a tool that we need to be using. And she did this wonderful presentation on the book at our assembly. And I was like, oh, that looks like something I should really read. And so we all dug into it. But let me just say what it is for people who may be saying, what does that term even mean? So emergent strategy is strategy for building complex patterns and systems of change through relatively small interactions. And Adrienne says to her, the potential scale of transformation that could come from movements intentionally practicing this adaptive relational way of being on our own and with others. We're going to talk about what that means for us in the academy setting, where individualism is what's celebrated, right? But we are a union, and a union is a collection of people moving together toward common goals and the common good. So I'm just going to throw it over to Adrienne for just a quick moment to say to us, say more about this. What does this notion of emergent strategy mean?
Well, first of all, I just had to say thank you all so much for having me here. I'm deeply humbled to be here. I'm like, dang, y'all are so grown up. You know, I always feel this way when I'm like talking to people. I'm like, you're running whole massive institutions and trying to bring these ideas to life there. And I really honor the work that you're doing. I think unions are so incredible and so necessary. And I know that you're all right now in the midst of a bargaining campaign. So I just want to thank you for taking the time to be here and be in this conversation. And I want to speak to you in a way that feels useful. So I'm going to work to be of use. And if at any time you're like, no, that's not, we're past that, you can be like, we're ready to get to something else, you know? So this piece, this like idea of building these complex systems out of small interactions, you know, I think campuses are actually the almost one of the most beautiful grounds where this can happen, right? Is that we're trying to change everything. We're trying to change all of the systems that we know don't work. And that means everything about how we understand our own identity, how we understand our relationships, how we understand power structures, how we understand decision-making, like every single thing about how we have been socialized to be humans, particularly in the experiment of the United States, is actually counter to everything we need to be practicing in order to be aligned with a future on the planet and a future with each other. So emergent strategy, the theory of it is that, what if we start with those small interactions and let that move upward, let that build upward, let that, you know, I think I imagine it as a wave, right? It's like, oh, we can actually build something that is so massive, so compelling and irresistible, but it has to be strong. And part of this came for me out of doing organizing campaigns where we were just getting people to sign a petition. And in some ways we were like pressuring that petition. So, you know, like, just sign this. You don't even have to read it, like just sign it. And then ending up with 3 billion names on a list that had no relationship to each other. They weren't passionately involved. They didn't actually share the vision. So they weren't real numbers, right? And my organizing heart was like, I want every name on the list to be a real number. Like, I want it to be a real comrade. I want it to be someone who really wants to do this. And so that's really what I mean by that, is like, I think that we can change everything about humans and how we're in relationship with this planet, including decentralizing humans on this planet. I think we can change everything, but it involves getting into a different mode of being in a relationship. And it means that we take the interaction so seriously, you know, that we're like, your needs matter to me as much as my needs matter, and I want them to matter to you. And together, we're going to find some others and their needs are going to matter. And what would it look like to craft a society where our needs were centered, where care was centered, where honesty was centered? And I think the classroom is one of the places where we can practice that over and over and over. Like, I am who I am because of great teachers. I am who I am because of great administrators, people who looked at me and said, you matter. Your life matters, what you're thinking matters, and we're gonna get you in the right relationships. I'm still in those relationships, right? Like, I am able to soar because I have deep, accountable relationships with people who are like, girl, we gather you, we uplift you. We gather you, we uplift you. And that's what we need to be doing on the grandest scale.